Welcome to the Lower Moreland Township Board of Commissioners State Monthly Meeting. Today is August 12th. Thanks for coming. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
To let the public know, the board met an executive session with our solicitor before the meeting to discuss a real estate matter. And we also have Commissioner Dennis Mueller is with us, but he's on Zoom. So hello, Dennis. Thanks for coming. So the first exciting and we're thrilled tonight to give out two commendations to two devoted community volunteers. I'd like to call Jack BERNSTEIN. Jack. Jack, this is a little something for you. We can never repay this for all the years and all the time that you've given to our community, the library, and the board of commissioners working with us. So we have a commendation for Jack BERNSTEIN. I'm gonna give you a hug first.
So he doesn't try.
No promises.
So this is a resolution, and it's whereas Jack J. BERNSTEIN Esquire has honorably served the Huntington Valley Library for 30 years as a dedicated board member of the Board of Trustees. And whereas throughout his 3 decades of service, Jack has brought thoughtful leadership, wise counsel, and steadfast commitment to the mission and success of the library. I think we left the decade out, didn't we? Because you've been serving for 40 years?
No, 30.
30, and Judy 40. It's amazing, and we appreciate you.
It seems like 40.
30 years times all the time could be a whole lot more. Whereas Jack concluded his tenure as president of the Board of Trustees, guiding the library with vision, professionalism, and a deep respect for its role and cornerstone of the community. And whereas under his leadership, the library has continued to grow and evolve, ensuring access to knowledge, resources, and services for all. And whereas Jack's integrity, legal expertise, and generous volunteer spirit has made a lasting impact on the library and those it serves. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Trustees and the staff of the Huntington Valley Library, along with Lower Moreland Township, express our deep gratitude and appreciation to Jack J. BERNSTEIN Esquire for his exemplary service and leadership, and we honor his enduring legacy as a champion of education, literacy, and civic engagement. Jack, thanks so much. I mean,
I want to thank the board for the cooperation they've given to the library that made all this possible. The library has progressed to a position now where it's where I always wanted it to be. It's because of the staff and the cooperation of all the people on the board, and I want to thank you.
And you have seen us through many library directors and many different times
Yes.
of waves.
We've hit a level of excellence, and
Wonderful.
we're going to stay there.
Thank you so much. Next, we would like to call up Judy TRICHON. Judy. 40 years of dedicated service, and this is commendable. Joe, come on down. Let's take a picture of Judy. And we're gonna miss both of you.
This is for the New York Times.
We're gonna miss.
I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah.
We're gonna miss both of you. You just have to come to our budget meeting because we've been seeing you for so many years. So we'll be the same. All right, sweetie.
You got me for this one, Judy.
Oh, good, Joe.
So I have a resolution here for you tonight of the Board of Commissioners of Lower Moreland Township. Whereas Judith TRICHON has served with distinction on the Board of Trustees of the Huntington Valley Library for an extraordinary 40 years. And whereas during her decades of service, Judy has demonstrated unwavering commitment, integrity, and leadership, always advocating for the mission and advancement of the library. And whereas Judy faithfully served as treasurer for many years, providing sound financial stewardship and helping ensure the library's fiscal health and sustainability. And whereas in the early 1990s, she played a pivotal role in the library's transition to automation, helping to modernize its systems and greatly enhance its services to the community. And whereas her wisdom, dedication, and passion have left a lasting impact on the library, its staff, and the patrons it serves. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Trustees and staff of the Huntington Valley Library express our deepest gratitude to Judith TRICHON for her outstanding service, and we honor her legacy as a devoted steward of literacy, learning, and public service. Presented this 12th day of August, 2025, with heartfelt respect and appreciation.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you, Judy. There you go. Thank you very much, Judy. Nice to meet you.
So much. Yeah, Judy.
So much.
Yes.
So now after all this, this excitement and wonderful start to our meeting in August, the chair would like to recognize Commissioner Mueller, Chair of the Community Development Committee.
Thank you, President Kurtz. The first item on my agenda is the conditional use hearing for 1181 Mettler Road. And before I turn it over to Solicitor Rice to lead us through the proceedings this evening, I do want to apologize to Dr. Wilder for not being able to be there in person. I had some business that was out of town, but I assure you that, I read everything ahead of time, and I wish I could be there to be able to meet in person. So, John, would you like to lead us through the hearing today?
Well, let me just put a few things on the record. We have a court reporter here. The application that's in front of the board tonight is to establish a home occupation use chiropractor office at 1181 Mettler Road in the township. Per the MPC, the hearing has to be advertised twice. It's been advertised on July 31st and August 5th. The legal ad is on file at the township. I want to mark a couple documents ahead of time. I think this is going to be a fairly straightforward, hopefully short hearing on this, but we do have to do this under the MPC. So I'm going to just mark as applicants exhibits. A1 is the June 18th, 2025 application from counsel, Mr. Fenningham, for the applicant who is here tonight. That application has several attachments to it, including the deed, a realty transfer tax document, some information from the Montgomery County Board of Assessment, a copy of the doctor's Meet the Doctor website, and some additional information. So that entire application and the attachments, I'm going to mark that as applicant's exhibit A1. And the township received a review letter from the township's planner, Rick 2, dated July 16th, 2025. And I'm going to mark that township exhibit T1 with respect to that. And we also have a letter in response to the RE2 correspondence from Mr. Fenningham dated July 30th, 2025, and I'll mark that as A2. I don't know why I'm marking the applicant's exhibits for him, but I'm going to continue.
Much
You
appreciated.
may have them marked differently, John, I don't know, but just so we have that, so. What I've marked as A2, the July 30th letter, has also some attachments, a floor plan of the property, and it addresses different correspondence from the township. The township did receive a July 7th letter from CKS regarding sanitary sewer. There's really no issue with sanitary sewer regarding this use. With that, let me just ask one other question. Is there any neighbors, anyone here that wants to participate in this? This is a hearing. I don't see anybody jumping up or raising their hand, so why don't we start out, and I assume, Mr. Benningham, you're gonna have one witness?
Correct, Lindsay Wilder.
Okay, so let's have her sworn in first. State your name and your address for the court reporter, and we'll have you sworn in.
My name is Dr. Lindsay Wilder, and my address is 1181 Mettler Road.
Okay.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Proceed on.
You want us to step up or stay here?
So I would usually recommend going from the podium. That's not a live microphone, but the one is there, and if you sit at that table, the microphone will pick up all the papers moving, so I would go to the podium.
Well, you go to, okay. Well, I'm gonna hand this one.
Thanks, John.
All right.
Yep, so right there, just don't worry about the microphone.
Got it. Okay, so again, John Benningham, I represent Lindsay Wilder and her husband Josh is here. They both reside at the address in question where there's a home occupation office. So I'm gonna ask Lindsay a couple questions and then I'll defer to the board if you have any questions of Lindsay. The first question is, Lindsay, Mr. Rice marked my July 30 letter as exhibit A2. And you previewed that letter
I did.
and you read that, you understand the content.
I do.
And do you affirm and confirm the text of what I put into the letter to be true and accurate?
Yes, I do.
With that July 30 letter, I provided a floor plan, actually a 3-page floor plan that you provided to me. And is that floor plan true and accurate with regard to the actual structure of your residential
Yes,
home?
it is.
Okay. Mr. Middleman, Ted Middleman of the township, at the recommendation of the planning commission, by the way, we attended the planning commission meeting on July 24th. And my understanding that it was a recommendation to approve the home occupation application. That's my understanding. But Ted visited your home on August 1.
Yes.
That's a Friday.
Yes, I did.
And you met with him.
Yes, I did.
And you talked to him and showed him the office.
I did.
Did he tell you what his reaction was?
He said that everything looked to code. In fact, that we had a little bit of extra because we had exit signs that you don't need for residential. So we went above and beyond.
So he seemed to be
He was
in favor.
in favor, yes.
Okay. And this came out at the planning commission, but the actual home office situated in your residential structure, was that already constructed when your parents bought the property in the house in 1999?
Yes, it was.
And because of the presence of that existing home office, did you decide to conduct your chiropractic practice in the home?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And did you change any aspect of the home office?
No, I did not.
And did you add any exterior signage?
No, I did not.
So there's no exterior signage today.
There is one sign that says office directly on the door next to the garage door.
Okay.
So,
Now, Mr. Rice mentioned your website, Meet the Doctor, and I'll just go over the hours of operation of your practice in your home. So Mondays, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m.
correct.
Tuesdays, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. And then a lunch break and resume at 3 p.m. to 6:30 p.m.
Correct.
Wednesdays, 3 p.m. to 6:30 p.m.
Correct.
Thursdays, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. to 6:30 p.m.
Correct.
And Fridays, 8:30 to 1 p.m.
Yes.
And you're closed on Saturdays and Sundays. There's no home occupation activity.
No, there's.
And describe for the board what I stated in the letter, but just confirm more specifically that you have an existing garage.
Correct.
You park your car in that garage.
Yes, I do.
Patients come for your treatment and they park in your driveway.
They do.
Do multiple patients come at the same time?
No,
So you schedule, and I believe you referred to it as block scheduling.
I block schedule, correct?
So you schedule one patient one at a time.
Yes,
And that a patient that comes to your office gets treatment, leaves before the next patient arrives?
almost always, yes.
Okay, and then there's a distinction, you told me if I'm a new patient, you extend the time with the new patient for administrative purposes and just an introductory type of session.
There's more evaluation that's necessary, so yes, I extend the time, yes.
Okay, you also explained, and it was in my prior letter, that you're billing for your treatment services for patients. You don't do that at your home residence.
No,
You have an independent office in Jenkintown.
yes,
And also, you have an accountant for your
I do.
personal and your business
Yes, I do.
tax work. Now, are you aware that the township imposes an earned income tax?
Yes,
And do you regularly and annually report the revenues from your home occupation as part of your earned income?
I pay estimated taxes quarterly,
Okay.
yes,
And are you aware that the township has a business privilege tax that
Yes.
it assesses?
yes,
And are you aware that you file business privilege tax returns
I do.
and you remit the taxes due under that ordinance?
As far as I know, absolutely I do.
Okay, okay. The township ordinance has a provision that requires, in connection with the home occupation, requires a statement. And that's section 804E, subparagraph 13. And if I may, Lindsay, I'm going to show you this document, and would you affirm that to be your signature in the original?
That is correct,
And it
yes,
was notarized in
Yes,
your
it was.
presence, okay?
yes,
So I would hand up this statement in compliance with that section of the zoning ordinance.
Let's mark this as A3.
At the planning commission meeting in July 24, we also presented a photograph of the home taken some time ago, but it also oriented the office door in conjunction with the garage door. And I don't know if that's in your package, and if not, I have a copy to submit. Okay. And if I may, first I'm going to show this to Lindsay. And Lindsay, this is an accurate photograph that you supplied to me of your home
yes.
some time ago.
Yeah,
correct?
there's no trees anymore, but yes, that is my house.
And if I could direct your attention to the garage door.
Yep.
To the left margin, and to the right of that is, you can see a door entrance.
Correct,
Is that the office door entrance?
that is the office door entrance.
Okay. I'll offer this up.
Mark the photograph as A4.
Thank you. With that, I believe, and with the July 30 letter, I believe I addressed each of the concerns of Frank, both with regard to general criteria and specific items that related to Lindsay's actual practice in her home. So I'll end my questions and ask if you have any questions of either me or Lindsay.
Okay, well, let's start with any board questions. Does the board have any questions about the proposed use and the operation?
Just
Jill,
one.
go ahead.
Yep.
How long have you been in operation?
I started my practice September 1st, 2018.
Lindsay, speak up.
September 1st, 2018.
Okay, and you're doing this now?
My parents owned the house. I bought the house from my mother in, I guess it was filed in the beginning of November, or yeah, November of 2024. That's when I became the owner of the house. So yes, I've been practicing out of my parents' house, now my house, ever since COVID happened.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Jill, code's been in, everything looked good, everything was good to go.
Yes, everything was there.
So it's good to know.
I just think it's important to kind of read off the piece of paper, the chapter 208 zoning article 8, which is under 13, which is what Lindsay signed, notarized. Because that was important to me when I saw it in the report. The applicant shall submit the following signed and notarized statement. I understand that this use has
Jeez. Yes.
prescribed limitations that are imposed to protect the residential character of the area. I also recognize that continued success of my business that requires expansion beyond such limits at this location would constitute a zoning violation. Should expansion beyond these limitations occur, I will be required to file another more suitable location with the appropriate zoning.
So that's been marked as a.
So I appreciate you signing that.
Absolutely.
I just, due to that, I mean, if your business terminated and the use is there, you would not be able to lease it or anything like that.
Right.
You wouldn't think about
No,
down that road.
I would literally never do that.
Okay.
Well, that's a condition we can talk about once we get the quote.
Okay.
You know, is there any other board questions?
I have some questions, John. My first, and these aren't in any particular order. In terms of received notice of the business, I know one of the neighbors next door that during the planning commission meeting they have expressed support, but who else received notice of the meeting? What other neighbors? Was it sent to all the neighbor across the street as well as,
500 feet within her address.
Okay. And okay. And the other question, some of the other questions I had on new patients, what percentage of new patients do you typically get, or how many patients do you typically see in a month, and how many of those are new patients? Is there an average or?
I can tell you how many patients I see about a week.
Okay, yeah, weeks.
Oh, sorry, I apologize.
How many weeks?
So I see about 30 to 35 patients a week, and I'm gonna say maybe one new patient a week.
And what information when you decide to take them as a patient, do they get some type of a packet or emailed some information about where you're located, where to park, like some basic information?
Yes, I have a practice management system, so I have pre-automated information typed up that is sent out within each new patient email. So it has my location and it says to please park in my driveway. I still do end up having certain patients that don't read everything. They do park on the street, and I notify them at that time. At your next visit, please start parking in the driveway.
Okay. Yeah, and the reason I'm asking about the parking is, I come down your street. I live at the other end of the street, and
Okay.
and I routinely see cars that are parked in the street. I will say that over the last month or so, it's gotten much better. But I did routinely see cars that were parked in the street, and why that's a concern for me is that there's other traffic issues that are happening there. That Summer County line to Summers, down Mettler, through Marquee back up Welsh, like that's a notorious way to avoid the traffic at County Line and Huntington Pike. So we get a lot of people that are cutting through the neighborhood. I'm seeing more of these electric scooters that are in the neighborhood, and both of those things completely out of your control. But that's why parking, at that stop sign and that intersection becomes a little bit more of a critical issue, and how that's maintained. And as I said, I did notice, since the planning commission, because I was paying more attention to it, that there were less times that I saw vehicles in the street during the work hours that you stated, but it's something that, I think that is important, that is reinforced as you take on new patients, and when you have patients that come in, that if you notice that they are parked in the street, then they need to move into your driveway.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yep, and I guess this is a question for Frank. In your July 16th letter, you listed there was, and this is to the township planner from her too. There was a bunch of things that you had in that letter. Have they all been resolved to your satisfactory?
Yes, they have been.
And then the last question, and Dr. Wilder, you had said that on the question that you were asked about the business privilege tax, I heard you say, I think so, and I guess I'm just trying to verify, and maybe if the manager Hoffman, you can verify this. It has the business privilege tax been paid, on the years that the doctor had been operating there out of the residence?
So we reached out to Berkheimer where that gets filed today, and based off of the search that they did, based off of your name and address, nothing came up immediately in their system. So maybe after the hearing concludes, I can get your contact information so we can talk about that more directly. To clarify that gap.
Yeah, absolutely. That's not a problem.
Sure.
What's the name of your accountant, Lindsay?
I just switched accountants.
Okay.
So that's gonna be an issue.
Your understanding was your accountant.
Yes, and that's what I said, to my understanding.
All tax requirements.
And Commissioner Mueller, I should clarify that comment from Berkheimer was specifically related to the business privilege tax. They did confirm payment of the earned income tax based off of your self-employment and the way that has been reported. So we can better clarify that so that the board has a comfort level, and also what has and has not been filed.
Absolutely.
Okay, I don't have any other questions or comments, and as I said, the two things that I would want noted were confirmation that the business privilege tax is up to date, and to reaffirm the requirement for the parking, and that patients won't be parking in the street.
Okay.
I have a question. Do you have an employee working when
I do not. It's just me.
And I'd amplify the question Mr. Mueller raised. At the planning commission, the neighbors, if you're looking at the house from the street, the neighbors to the right, both spoke in favor of Lindsay's occupation, her office, and stated that it had no disruption. They weren't even aware. They had no concern, but actually supported Lindsay's practice. To the left of her house, it's an open parcel. There's no house right to the left. Across the street at the corner is a residence, but Lindsay has not heard any complaints from anyone over the years. So although we heard that maybe there was someone to complain, we're unaware of that being the case, correct?
Correct.
Okay, just a couple questions. So what I heard is 30 to 35 patients a week.
About, yes.
And how many new ones per week?
About one new patient a week.
One per week, okay. Because ultimately, the board votes to approve this tonight, I have to write a written decision, within 45 days. So there's some conditions that I heard that seem to be appropriate. First of all, a condition for any approval that there be no patient parking on the street.
It's acceptable.
Yeah. And we know that people may do that anyway, but we'll put that in for future reference.
Right.
Secondly, I think what Commissioner Mueller mentioned, confirmation of the BPT, that you're registered for that the township doesn't collect that, Berkheimer collects that throughout Eastern Pennsylvania, I think. And then the third condition would be that if you ever sell the property or whatever happens with it, that the use terminates at that point. It's not something that's going to be able to be transferred. to another chiropractor,
Correct.
down the road. So that would be a specific,
Condition accepted. It doesn't run with the land.
right,
It exists while Lindsay occupies the home.
right, as long as she's there. You know, if there was another chiropractor that wanted to use that, they'd have to come back and get another conditional use approval. So that's the way that would have to work. I mean, other than that, that's all I have in terms of conditions that I think make sense based on what we've heard. If the board wants to vote on this tonight, you can certainly do it. It'd be subject then to the written decision being circulated, signed, and sent out within 45 days.
I just have one more suggestion. That if your hours that you're showing us in, with all the documentation, if they expand or change, could you let the township know? And then in turn, we could possibly, if we have a complaint, we know about the times that are changing and the dates and times. of
Not a
operation.
problem.
That's acceptable.
Okay. Okay, anything else, Mr. Franahan?
Just before I was engaged, there was a notice from the township to cease and desist, and due to the patient care that's ongoing, my request would be that pending, if you approve tonight, that's fine. If you defer and wait, I want to make the request that Lindsay could continue to engage in her practice for the benefit of her patients.
I'm ready to vote tonight.
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, I think I'm okay.
Do we need to open it up to the public first for comment on this, Sean? Or no?
Well, normally, if there's other parties, we have that occurring, but, sure, public comment should happen on this also. So is there any public comment on the application? Just public comment.
Before Mr. DeGeorge's comment, is this within the context of the hearing or has the hearing itself?
Yeah, the hearing's closed in terms of the testimony and the evidence, but before the vote, let's have some public comments. Yeah.
Oh, sure.
But not questions, Mr. DeGeorge, just public comment.
Okay. Thank you for your time. I find it interesting that it was mentioned that the planning commission endorsed this. Any planning commission meeting I go to, one of the first disclaimers that they announce is they have no power and they don't really do the recommendations. So I find that puzzling. I question how many professional services offices are on residential streets in this township. I know that they are on state roads. I can name many of them, but I'd like to know, this is not a question and answer, but if someone could get back to me, how many professional buildings like this are on residential streets? I think that shouldn't be confused with the ones that are on state roads. Because you could be opening up a can of worms. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Anyone else in the room would like to make a comment? Anyone on Zoom? No hands raised. Back to you, Commissioner Mueller.
Okay, if the board is comfortable moving forward, and I think I am, John, I guess we make a motion to approve the conditional use.
Yes, with the
conditions.
With the conditions that have been identified.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve the conditional use as identified by the solicitor this evening for the conditional use of 1181 Mettler Road for operation of the chiropractic services that would be limited to the hours that were stated and the one employee, plus the other conditions.
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded to approve the conditional use at 1181 Mettler Road with conditions as described this evening. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Commissioners. Motion's passed.
The next item on my agenda is the.
Thank you very much.
I'll let them get out of there. And Jill or any of the code enforcement, if Jill or Ted are there, I can't see. They can come up and provide their monthly report.
Hello. We had 64 permits, 164 inspections. We had a lot of court, mostly all of them were continued. We had a zoning officer meeting, we had some pre-cons, and we had, a couple site meetings about pool issues, some sewers, some signs, so we were pretty busy.
Do we have an update on the, earlier in the year, we had looked at the construction of the residential property. I think it's on Burnett. That's in my ward. Do we have last I heard that they were looking at an occupancy permit that was going to be this summer, and we're in August now. Have we?
Yeah, so we got more inspections. I believe he has passed drywall, so we're now waiting for the final. Which could take a little bit because they get, a lot of stuff from like Italy and wherever, and it takes a while for the marble to come in, but he did, since you brought it up, he has made progress.
Okay.
And I think some of the construction loans are coming up for some of our big houses, because we've been getting a push on, getting UNOs. So I think a lot of the bigger houses that have kind of been open on Paper Mill and a couple of the other ones are gonna be wrapping it up.
All right. Thank you for your report. Is there any questions from anyone?
Jill, I just want to say that the update for the land development subdivision applications was fabulous. You and Ted just keep making it.
And you like that,
Better.
the PowerPoint was a
Love
little
the
bit.
PowerPoint. It was really great. Thank you.
Lee, I think there's a question on Zoom.
Hi, Laura Calfein, 3231 Maple Road. Just before Commissioner Mueller is finished with the community development, I have a question asking if there is an update on the BET apartment project on Philmont.
I know. Yeah. Hey, Laura, we were in contact with BET about a month ago about some property maintenance things down there, and took that opportunity to see if we could figure out where they were. Their major holdup is coordination with PennDOT. I think everything else seems to be moving along from their perspective. They are hopeful that their PennDOT permit will be issued, September, October timeframe. At which time they plan to move ahead with construction.
I'm sorry, I lost that last part. After they expect PennDOT approval September, October.
The last outside agency permit that they're waiting for, Laura, is the PennDOT permit. And they expect to proceed with construction once all those documents are in hand.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate the update.
Sure.
Okay, the last item on my agenda is my liaison report, and that was for the planning commission. We discussed that, as well as the Pennypack Ecological Restoration Trust. They did not meet last month. The next meeting is coming up in September. That concludes my agenda items, and I return to you, President Kurtz.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Mueller. Next is my agenda, the Internal Affairs Committee. First item is review and consider the minutes of July 8th, 2025. Commissioners, do you have any questions or comments regarding the minutes? I see none. Commissioner Mueller? Do we have any public comment? Leanna? Okay. Hearing none, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of July 8th, 2025.
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded to approve the July 8th minutes. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Thank you, Commissioners. Next, I have review and consider August 2025 bill list. Commissioners, questions, comments?
Chris is in here, buddy. EJ's on.
Okay.
Oh, EJ's on. Hi, EJ. The Red Lion Road Pico bill is pretty high again. And I know that it's open a lot more often than it had been before, but I just want to make sure that we are sure that that is an appropriate bill, since it has gone wrong in the past. Pico has billed us the wrong amounts, so do we know if the Red Line Road electric bill is Has anybody checked to see if they're billing us the right amount?
Having just heard about this now, we'll look back into it. I haven't noticed that they have gone up in that way. There was a specific meter issue before. So we'll take a look.
Yeah.
We do keep track. We do keep a running track of all the utility bills from month to month, so we'll double check on that.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, EJ. Any public comment?
So that's not, so it's just.
Hearing none, seeing none. I'll make a motion to approve the August 2025 bills.
Second.
Motion's been seconded, moved and seconded to approve the August 2025 bill list. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you, commissioners. Next is review and consider fire rescue station architect selection. Chris, I'm gonna hand this off to you.
All right. So last week, we had a working group that interviewed the 4 architecture firms who submitted per the RFP. So after the board had authorized the selection of CHA as your construction manager, they immediately got to work on the RFP for architecture proposals. So we received 4, we interviewed all 4. And through that process, that involved Commissioner Kuritz, Commissioner Canali, Chief Showmaker, and myself. We had really good conversations, learned a lot about the process, and kind of improved our language understanding architecture-based decisions along the way as well. And ultimately through that process, came to a consensus that the recommended architect is GKO, Godshaw, Keene, and O'Rourke. Kevin Godshaw actually is the architect who had done the 2012 study. They also did the public works facility, but they just kind of gave us the best on like the high level points of they were the lead architect for a firehouse project in Upper Providence that is very much kind of the guide of what we were looking to do with this building. It was a fantastic and just kind of calming interview conversation. And 3 of the 4 firms backed themselves up, GKO included, with a nationally recognized EMS architecture consultant. So some of the things that are beyond the local approach, and say a very important thing is for this building to fit into the character along Huntington Pike. But also we want to make sure that it has every bit of practicality for the emergency services that it is serving. So having the EMS consultant, and in this instance is a company called Redstone, we have a great confidence in their ability to help by making sure that everything in the building is what it needs to be. The fees ranged from, on the low end, $811,565 up to $1,096,800. GKO is the second lowest of that group, at $825,000 as a flat fee. The reason that we, outside of the interview context, the group that did come in as the low, while that may have been low comparatively, in discussing with Jamie Lynch, as he has worked with each of these firms in the past, the concern, they would have yielded a great building, but the cost to build that building would be higher than the other entities that we were dealing with. So we felt great about where the fee came in for GKO. Overall, the GKO team, their direct employees who we would be dealing with, the project management, interior design, and technology consultants, are all GKO employees. Then Redstone Architects would be the EMS expert consultant. And then for the MEP engineering, there's a group called Consolidated Engineers. And then structural engineering is Baker Ingram Associates. That is all inclusive in that $825,000 fee. And then beyond that, that rounds out the team then, that includes CHA as your construction manager, Woodrow and Associates doing your land development and MPDES, and facilitating some great conversations, as well as Bowman for your traffic engineering, particularly the HOP process. Everybody per the RFP gave us the same program parameters for how you would go from developing the building program. What are the things that must be in it? What are the things that would be nice to have in it? And then being able to use that to get into a more specific schematic design before you get into the design development of very specifically what are you building. And things that are on the must-haves being within the base bid, and then things that might be nice to have, but we will need to test their practicality by including those as alternates in the bid. And then ultimately, once that is all settled upon, get into construction documents that our staff will review to be able to issue building permits, and also get out the bids to be able to hire your 4 prime contractors. So we were very confident about the way GKO framed all of that for us. So after any questions of the board, that is, I guess the sample motion that we are recommending is the appointment of GKO Architects for the fire rescue station project. And then I also just wanted to be upfront in the overall budgeting for this. So rounding out that team, as we talked about with Mr. Woodrow and the Bowman folks, I have specific proposals from them for all of the tasks that they will be doing. So as we build out our project budget, these will be things that we will deduct off of. So for Tim Woodrow's services, and his scope is very significant in this. So the initial field survey and that information being shared with Bowman for the eventual HOP, the entirety of the land development process and doing that in conjunction with the architect, that yielding initial sketch plans to help us determine the full scope of what can go on the site today and what might be able to go there in the future. The preliminary and final plan process, so that's where we, as you do in every other land development instance, all the code requirements, setbacks, grading, erosion control, stormwater conveyance, sanitary sewer, water supply, general construction details, landscaping, all of that would come together there. The other major task being the NBDES permitting, so the stormwater system for the site, and then other items just in support of that project. So all of those services totaling $117,500. And then Bowman for the HOP, that would entail a preliminary traffic analysis. And one of the neat things that Jamie had built into the proposals from the architects was them giving us like a first round of, hey, here's where we think we would initially situate the building. And here are some of the considerations for what it would take to do that. One of them being what road it takes access to. So there will be greater than collaboration with Bowman on the practicality of those. So they'll do a preliminary driveway evaluation and then develop conceptual plans, develop a construction cost estimate, and the property owner impact evaluation. And then their fee also includes just general project management, attendance at the many meetings that we are about to start having, and other correspondence as necessary. So that project scope for $29,700. So after the board makes the architect appointment, then I would also follow up with Woodrow and Bowman to sign off on those proposals to be able to have everybody on board and we can hit the ground running.
Thank you, Chris. It was a wonderful experience to go through. And I know Chief Showmaker was very pleased with their most recent project of the firehouse in Upper Providence, and which you were amazing at all the interviews with your expertise and experience.
And I will second that. It was a fun experience coming at it from my layman's perspective and having finally unleashed Mark on these architects.
And I do think this firm, every thought that was, in your head, and say Commissioner Canale's head and any of ours, this firm expressed it before you even, any of us had a chance to ask the questions. So it was a really great experience. I know some of us have explored and looked at some of their other projects. Ruth and I took a little tour to look at some of their administration. They redid the Upper Dublin Library, a firehouse or two in Fort Washington. I just saw Warrington, so they're finishing up a lot of these projects, and that they're a local firm and have a wonderful reputation. So I'm all for making a motion to appoint GKO Architects for the fire rescue station project, but I'd like to ask the board if they have any questions before.
I have a couple questions, minor questions. I'm just curious. So first, the team, the extended team to BERNSTEIN Architects, the engineering firm, the structural engineering firm, is that team the same group of companies and firms that have worked on all the other properties, like, you know, GKO had like a nice long list of, this is all the work we've done. Is this the group that has done all those things as well? Or is this-
In particular, the mention of Providence is probably one of their most recent fire stations.
And one of the interesting things, the other three architects all had the same MEP engineer. This was the one that was different. But we have that specific experience with GKO with Consolidated.
Okay.
I forget the number he gave us, what projects have been involved with, just
Several.
fire stations, it was several hundred.
They have 70 years of experience. I'll give you the booklet.
Yeah. I know there's a lot of, I saw that list of other sites that they worked on, and it was pretty comprehensive. So I was just curious if this was the group of people that did all that work as well. So my other question is just to, again, kind of zooming out even further than this. Between this work that we're talking about here, the fee associated to it, the work that you just described that Tim would be leading, that Bowen would be leading. Can you just talk about, like, from now to, like, we have a fire station and it's fully built, how much of that part of the project are these aspects covering? What other milestones are there still left? I'm just making sure I'm checking in on, like, the big picture.
I believe by the time you appoint the architect, that will be comprehensive of the fees that you have. There, I guess, a permit fee to PennDOT for the HOP. It'll be our staff that is reviewing, so we will not like pay our own building permit fees. So I think this is pretty inclusive of.
This takes all the way to like actual construction started
through the end of the project, through construction.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Cool.
So on his construction cost, that's.
Of course.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And I'm just trying to make sure I.
So the architecture process, getting through into the construction documents phase, that will yield your major expense, which is the site work and the construction of the building. But for all of the professional team that is guiding that, this is
that's what this is.
So to piggyback off of Sean and cost, everything that's added up. When the study was done a couple years ago, when all this was going on, they mentioned this particular building where our admin, where you were, chief and his team. Do we think that we can get a final budget or close to it to see? Does it make sense? Do we, while we're pulling the bond and moving money to incorporate a new admin building and police at the same location to free up this space to do something here to generate other type of revenue? Is there any thought into that? Is there any thought into, we're gonna be maxed out on just doing a firehouse there?
You want me to take it first, or you want it first, Chris?
I'll give the staff answer. So that study, and when we did that a couple of years ago, the concern, and as we've communicated this, we were projecting about a $15 to $20 million construction project here. And the initial estimate that we had in like the highest level of taking a like per square footage cost, everything is more expensive now than when we did the study, than when the school district did their project. But also, you can only get this information by doing the designs of these things. So hopefully, all of the estimates that CHA is preparing are on the high end. So because of that, we have communicated from when we started all of the formal components of this project that the only thing that we are focused on right now is building the fire rescue station. Because we need to understand the full financial implication of that before we can have a conversation about anything more. And I worry about the board always sets us, the community always sets us in context of the overall tax situation, including the school district. And a huge component that is fully outside of the township's control is going to have an impact on where we provide safe spaces for our employees to work. And I'm right at this point, we're just not ready to be able to guide any more specifically on that. So the main thing that we would be doing as we design the fire rescue station, we need to make sure that the way that that site gets laid out provides the best access for first responders. If in doing that, it yields an availability on the site for future building, we want to leave open the possibility to do that. And I guess the one thing that we can do in this immediate phase is to design the stormwater program so that the site can take on additional square footage in the future without having to go back and reinitiate site work, because site work is a major cost for this. But outside of that, I can't sit here today and tell you what we will be able to put there because all of it is going to be a function of cost tolerance. And we're dealing with right now with a 1950 something firehouse that can't provide the services out of it today. We know that that needs to be the immediate priority and we need to act on that now before costs keep increasing even more. But until we know anything more specific about that, as on the staff level, I will not commit to anything great.
So it sounds like there's opportunity to prepare for the potential and actually do some genuine work to like be able to take on like a second building, for example, should that opportunity arise.
Right. So examples would be, we need to see from the overall site layout. Our preference is to provide a single story structure for the firehouse. We need to make sure that that building has the ability to grow at some point if it needs to 25, 35, 50 years down the line before or after any of us are in charge of that. But we want to make a decision that's set up to create some future flexibility. In the initial design work that each of the architects did, kind of as a free component of the proposal process, we did let them know that there's a greater like master site plan that we would like to discuss as part of this. And so several of them showed how you can fit a 30,000 square foot building to accommodate a admin, police, and library in the future. But looking at the square footage costs for new construction, yeah, I don't know.
I think we each have to get the stormwater management set up to functionally take a bigger building if this is eventually gonna run its course.
At a minimum, we will do that, but it's a matter of, we need to understand what it costs to build a 25 to 28,000 square foot firehouse before we would double what is on the site. And understanding that whatever year we would get to that, you're multiplying some percentage factor every year for the cost to build. The high school was built and was able to maintain, I think, 270 a square foot. That's like laughable at the past at this point.
And Joe, I asked that, I said, could you make could a miracle happen? And could we wind up being able to, build everything, but it just isn't feasible. It wasn't feasible.
Right, and any responsible construction manager is going to start you with a higher end estimate. So they had included probably 1.2 million as the architect fee, and we're coming in at 825. So I'm hopeful that we'll continue doing things like that, but there's going to be hard decision-making points for the board where you're choosing building materials that are some combination of respectful to the architecture in the area against what it costs to actually put them there.
Yeah.
Those are going to be real decisions that you have to make that I don't know what to recommend.
Chris, what are they suggesting square footage per square foot? What numbers are you hearing at this point?
Not inclusive of site work. I think CHA's estimate was 539 a square foot. Some of the architects range from like 550 to 600. And then inclusive of site work, you're at 600 something.
650 to 675.
Sorry, Bryn Athens said they're bringing their 6 million.
And just for the board's reference, I had asked them, they do have a history of every one of the places that they built, locations, CHA and GKO of coming in at or under budget and on time, but we cannot control the rising costs. So I'll just keep my fingers crossed, and hope
it's materials.
that's what we kept, ask them.
And the materials that are subject to fluctuating tariffs
And the
regularly. Overall, it's a project that will be prevailing wage, which I think is objectively a good thing. The people who are working the site should be paid fair wages. But that adds to your expense. So and overall site work, we have a very good idea about the site, but until you actually start moving earth around, there's only so much you can know. So you have to build in tolerance for some of these things down the line that are just beyond your control. And we're not bidding until the end of 26, early 27. So that could even be subject to changes between now and then.
There is a labor agreement. The GC's gonna have one.
The state law requires that regardless of whether or not there's whatever the makeup of the general contractor is, that you have to pay prevailing wage per state law.
So, thank you.
Anyone else? Dennis, do you have any other questions?
No other questions.
Okay. Anyone from the public? One up, we have one in the room, and we'll take Zoom after that.
Chuck McDade, Dale Road. We're covering the entire cost of the architect study, correct? And the architect. And has Bernathen given any funds yet to this project?
So we have not put out any funds at this point.
Right.
My full expectation is that Bernathen Borough should be participating in this, and as we do a lot of the next phases of this, the specifics around that will become clear.
So the board's gonna take a vote on this tonight, correct?
That's my recommendation, yes.
Yeah, for the architect, which is an $825,000 plus bill.
Mm-hmm.
So, but Bernathen hasn't said what they're going to contribute to this yet, or is this coming strictly from the lower Moreland taxpayers?
So, Mr. McDade, to make this clear, whether or not Bernathen participates,
I understand.
we need to have this done for our township. and
Joe,
our
you've
community.
said that every meeting, okay?
And you
And
continue
there's a merger going on that was discussed here in the public, okay? And it was an 85-15 agreement at first, and then it changed to a 90-10, okay? But has any money been contributed from, I think it's the Bernathen Fire Department, not the borough, correct?
That's not correct.
Okay, what is correct then?
So. How much do you want to get into this?
So how, when, if we have approved architect tonight, when do they actually get a purchase order or get a check to be released? When are they due money?
We'll start paying them on a monthly basis once we start the process.
Which would be end of 26?
No, the architect's going to get to work like within a month.
Now. Okay.
This starts now. This is part of the work.
And Mr. McDade, I think that you can have a further conversation with Manager Hoffman on this. I mean, I say questions, but it's really public comment, and we're gonna stick to that. So I apologize. We do have a full agenda this evening.
Right, like we're not gonna.
So it's not like
Productive
we
conversation about cash flow
could talk
management
about
and
this for
budgetary
like
considerations.
an hour.
We have to form new nonprofits and develop the consolidation agreements that put the two existing organizations into the new one. And all of that is going to include the things that we continue to ask about. So it's just a matter of timing, and you can try to frame the questions in these ways, but in terms of the actual things that are being done, in order to set any of that up, you still need to appoint the architect this evening.
Exactly.
So, just to give you a summary though, Chuck, you're right. The two fire companies are merging. The township and the borough are trying to work in collaboration to get this done. Fire companies are both supposed to be bringing funds, which will go into the new 501c3 or whatever it may be. Township is going to be contributing X amount of money, probably the lion's share, 90%, somewhere in there. Sure. It's not defined yet. We're waiting to hear from Bernathen their exact amount that they're going to be willing to contribute towards this project.
Right, and you'll have a new nonprofit entity that comes in to request funds from the board the same way that both Huntington Valley and Bernathen have done for years. That will be a budget that's developed by those organizations together with Chief Showmaker. We'll be involved in that process early on. And the part that we can't say today, like Bernathen Fire Company has assets. If the consolidation agreements are agreeable to everybody, those assets will come into the new organization. Similarly, Huntington Valley Fire Company has assets. If agreeable to that group, those assets can come into the new organization. All of those things become relevant to the funding requests that are made of the two taxing entities of Lower Moreland Township and Bernathen Borough. So that's where I understand why there wants to be a public conversation around this, but it simply cannot be known until we do the process.
Okay.
And until we're developing budgets. So that's why it's so.
So when you start paying, then I can ask the questions that I have tonight to ask, because we haven't voted on it yet. And then I can bring my questions back to the board.
Right, and like in your options are going to be that Bernathen Borough starts paying some percentage towards it. We have reimbursement agreements with the borough, we have reimbursement agreements with the Lower Moreland School District, where we make the initial investment and then through our finance office, Yeah, whatever the agreed upon schedule is, they reimburse those expenses.
Yeah.
So realm of possibility, we could pay the first several $1,000s of the architecture fee in the same way that we'll pay the first several $1,000s of the construction management fee. But once we have the parameters of those agreements in place, then the reimbursements would start to kick in for whatever the agreed upon version is. I just don't know that today.
Okay, so at what point do we go to Bernathen and say, Bernathen, last month we approved the architect at X hours, we're gonna start cutting them a check. At what point do we hold them and say, commit to us for something? At what point? Is that during architect phase, engineering, is that pre-construction?
It's a concurrent process. It's during the discussion of the consolidation.
Got it.
Because remember, there's both municipalities and both fire companies. We are guiding the entirety of that process. So until there's something that we bring into the board to recommend, we will continue to work on what's the best version of that. Both primarily for the township side of the service, but looking at the whole program entirety. So it'll be through those agreements that I think all of that information, like we can finally give you the
Okay, separate from the budget process, this is tied into the process, right?
This year's, the 26 budget's going to be a weird experience. We're probably recommending that you have to fund on paper the two separate nonprofits still exist. So you have monthly bills at Huntington Valley, you have employee costs at Bernathen, that we'll have to keep funding those for some period of time. And then with those consolidation agreements in place, a switch will then go off that shifts what is happening there into the new organization. But you have to think of all of the administrative specifics of all of that, where all of the payroll, all of the insurances, the pension, everything that goes along with that need to be set up so you can do that.
Yeah.
So whether or not we're able to accomplish that for April of next year or sometimes later.
All right.
That's why this.
Thank you.
So we will have to plan, we have a statutory obligation to plan and to keep moving forward. So, any other questions from the public? Anyone on Zoom? Leah, did you see anything? Okay. Hearing none, I'll like to make a motion to appoint GKO Architects for the Fire Rescue Station project. Second. Motion's been moved and seconded to appoint GKO Architects for the Fire Rescue Station project. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I don't hear any. Thank you, commissioners. Next is review and consider ANC parcel acquisition next steps. So, we have information on our tablets, and in December 2023, the board by resolution authorized the township manager and solicitor Rice to negotiate with the property owner or to file a declaration of taking to acquire the 3.75 acre property, which is located at Buck and Huntington Pike, if negotiations were successful. To date, we have been unable to come to an agreement with the owner. The board agreed we would bring this back in front of all of us before proceeding with the declaration of taking. Solicitor Rice, do you want to add anything?
No, I mean, that's, the board has the information that we've been trying to come to an agreement. There's been a couple sort of side discussions about other things that got us off track, but we're pretty far apart with the property owner in terms of the value of the property. We have an appraisal, they have an appraisal. We can't come to an agreement. The next step really is to, in order to move the project forward, is to file the declaration of taking, and that would give township ownership of the property, with the only question up in the air is, what is it worth? So we'll continue to negotiate. If we can't come to an agreement on the number, it'll go to a board of view, and that board will make a decision on what the ultimate fair market value of the property is. So at this point, I think the decision that this board needs to make is just to authorize to proceed with that filing of that declaration of taking, which would probably occur sometime in September. I think we're also looking at some grant applications for some costs. And the timing will be driven by that to some extent.
The board authorized an application back in November last year It's a DCED based grant. So the Commonwealth Financing Authority is supposed to meet in September to consider that. It's, if they make a decision in September, great. If not, they would bump that to November. So talking with the DCED staff, their main premise is that if we do it amicably, the settlement cannot occur until after the grant announcement is made. If we have to file a declaration of taking, you can't file it until after the grant announcement is made. So that, outside of the recommendation that the board kind of reauthorize filing the declaration, the thing that we will do on the staff level is monitor the grant award. We have a tolerance to wait through November. So we would just track that and reach out to the board to let you know, one, if we're successful, two, if we haven't heard, and ultimately let you know when that would be filed.
Again, this is another step that we have to keep moving forward. Our statutory obligation to plan.
Exactly.
Public safety.
There's a certain point where when we have to do the land development and the different permit submissions that we need to own the property. We've got some time built into the process. But I think after that November date, we will need to proceed there.
And can you confirm, despite having a vote tonight to authorize this step, that doesn't stop our desire to negotiate amicably to come to an amicable agreement? Like, we're going to continue to do that up until the little moment where we have really no choice but to take this secondary step or the secondary.
Yes, this will essentially set like a end date parameter on that negotiation.
Does anyone else on the board have any questions?
No.
Dennis?
No.
Anyone from the public comment? At this time?
Business.
On Zoom? Okay. Like to make a motion to authorize Solicitor Rice to file a declaration of taking for the ANC parcel as described.
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded to authorize Solicitor Rice to file a declaration of taking for the ANC parcel as described. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, Commissioners. The motion's passed. Next is review and consider the appointment of the Pennsylvania State Association of Township Commissioners. Legislative advocate. So they're requesting that for each municipality to appoint a legislative liaison. Both PSATC and the Pennsylvania Municipal League function as lobbyists for local government interests. They believe having a designated liaison could help expedite feedback for priority legislative issues. Manager Hoffman just gave us the last an example. The basic, he had spoken to Representative Gent's office regarding there's proposed legislation to increase the local services tax from $52 to $156 per individual. Currently, Commissioner Housen and I sit on the Montgomery County Association of Township Commissioners board, acting in leadership positions. And if anyone would like to serve, we can make that appointment tonight. If you'd like to think about it, you can think about it. But this position would be really going to the summit once a year. This year it's in Erie. It's quite far. Ruth and I were thinking about going, but it's about 8 hours. It's very difficult to get to. Next year it's in Hershey, PA. So, but Ruth and I are very much enjoying being, on the county.
What are the other, like, time commitments, obligations? How often do they meet aside from?
You can give as much as you want. If you want to come to the Montgomery County meetings, we welcome all of you to do that. They're pretty much local. We met at the Bluebell Inn, which was pretty. There's Delaware County and Montgomery County that come together, and we talk about different issues in the township and what we'd like, the leadership to bring to the table to the legislators.
So they're looking for someone from our board to be there
direct point of contact.
Right, but this would be at the state level, so it's a little bit higher.
It's
than the
specific
county.
to legislative advocacy.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah, Commissioner Kurtz, I can speak with you offline about it. I might be interested. I'd want to understand no more of the.
Sure,
details.
sure. That's why we just figured we have received the letter, and we would just review it with everyone, and everyone could think about it. Talk about it. So, I know it's hard to make a commitment. So, I mean, we don't need to appoint someone this evening. So, would everyone like to think about that? Great. Okay, so we have to, table it.
Yeah, just table, motion to table.
I'll make a motion to table appointing a commissioner to the Pennsylvania State Association of Township Commissioners as legislative liaison.
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded to table the Pennsylvania State Association of Township Commissioners legislative liaison position. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Next is the administration report. Manager Hoffman.
So just two items that I wanted to report on this evening, as typical, I have already talked enough. The first is that on the grant front, we are continuing to make progress with Bowman on the Mettler streetscape next steps. So you have a grant that is funding the preliminary engineering, and the goal is to get some design concepts to bring into the board, talk about what it might cost to fund some of these things, and maybe break that up into kind of different project scopes that can be accomplished seeking different grant awards. So hopefully over the next couple of months, we'll have Bowman attend a meeting and be able to share some of those initial designs. And just as a reminder, through other grant applications, we've completed the sidewalk connections essentially from the ANC campus all the way down to the Beth Ayres train station. But this would be like the aesthetic streetscape improvements, making a nice public investment on behalf of the businesses along the Pike. And then also, now that it is our August meeting, we are transitioning into budget season. So on top of firehouse planning and monthly agendas, that is going to become another primary focus between now and our budget meetings, September and October. Next month, we will set the schedule for those meetings. And that's what I have for this evening, unless there are any questions.
I don't have any questions. Commissioner Mueller, do you have any questions?
No.
I'll accept your report as submitted. EJ, I see you online. Your assistant manager report, hello.
Hi, the only thing I wanted to point out was following up on the board's awarding of the contract for the trash bid to AJ Blazinski. Township staff will be meeting with them next week to start the transition process. Make sure that this process is as smooth as possible for the residents, so that there's no issues with any confusion or anything like that. So we will be working on making sure we have adequate public notices on any updates, and again, try to make this as seamless as possible for the residents. And I have one agenda item, which is the fire truck lease that will be presented by Commissioner Canali later on.
Thank you, EJ, especially for your hard work on everything. I'll accept your report as submitted. Next is the tax collector's report. Our elected tax collector, Jane Sales, online. Hi, Jane.
Muted.
Oh, Jane, you were on mute. Accept Leah's request. There we go.
I did. Where'd I go?
Now you're there.
You're here.
Oh, I can't see anybody.
We can see you. You're good to go.
Okay. It's been a bad day. Anyway, the taxes, there isn't much in the way of collections right now. It's very slow because everybody's paying their school taxes. But for the face collected, we're at 96.89%. Actual collection is at 95.15%. And the outstanding balance for taxes is $218,863. And for trash, it's $37,100. So hopefully next month we'll have more collections.
Thank you, Jane. Does
Thank
anyone
you.
have any questions for Jane? Thank you, Jane. I'll accept your report as submitted. Next is my liaison report, which is Lower Moreland Township School District, the Lower Moreland Township DEI Excellence in Education Equity Committee, and Lower Moreland Township Community Events. The school board had their meeting. They were on recess in July, and I attended their August 5th work session meeting on Zoom. Just wanted to highlight that they reviewed the CSI Stadium concept design and site analysis. I sent that to the board. Review it when you have time. And they had two concepts proposed. They've been talking about this for quite some time. So you can review the PowerPoint, and anyone from the public, if they're interested, they can also review all the agenda items at www.lmtsd.org. With regard to the DEI, to date, no meetings are scheduled for this year. We're waiting to hear from Dr. Cole, but all contributions that the committee made last year were made a part of the strategic planning process in the district. Under community events, all events are scheduled for fall. Our assistant Leah has started to promote our first event, which is in September, the movie Night Under the Stars. The movie is Dogman, and that's going to be September 20th. Thank you, Leah, for doing all that. Save the date, bring a lawn chair and a blanket. And if we experience inclement weather, the event will be moved into the Red Line Gym. So all October events were scheduled. Fire Prevention Week open house, the trunk or treat. Stay tuned. Everything will be in the newsletter. And also keep a lookout for some future environmental workshops. Does anyone have any questions? That concludes my agenda items for this evening. Next, the chair recognizes Chair of the Public Works Committee, Joe Pace. Joe.
Thanks, President Karas. I will now review and consider Philmont and Red Line intersection improvement bids. So July 29th, we put out the bid, the Philmont and Red Line intersection improvements. Bowman sent a letter to PennDOT, which PennDOT approved. The significance of that is PennDOT's involvement because there was a $1.2 million PennDOT MTF grant for this particular project. The low bidder was Marino Corporation for $1,692,180.60. Chris, you want to talk about this, that we have the money covered to pay the balance?
This is a project that we have been prepared to fund and probably have reflected like the actual construction happening in many of your last budgets. So overall, the project expense is that total contract plus the $196,000 for Bowman to do the construction administration and inspection services per the PennDOT spec that is required when you have a PennDOT MTF grant. So that is in your capital improvement traffic safety fund, all ready to go once this project gets going.
Schedule wise, there are some utilities that have to be relocated this fall, which means this project would start as soon as possible in January, February, early 2026. Any questions from the board?
No.
Any questions from the public? I'll make a motion to award the Philmont Red Line intersection improvement bid to Marino Corporation for $1,692,180.60.
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded to award the Philmont Red Line intersectional improvement bid to Marino Corporation. As described, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you, Commissioners.
Item M, review and consider Valley Road Bridge repair quote. So this is the local bridges which are inspected by ourselves when they're under a certain length, not by PennDOT. And the Valley Road Bridge was repaired by a company called Salt LLC for some repointing and cleaning of the walls. That was below the state requirement to receive quotes. There's a second repair on that bridge that's more significant, requiring filling gaps under the bridge and applying material to restore the mortar on the arches, walls, and ceiling. Steve Warner has received CoStar quote from Swerp Inc. for $48,700 $785 to complete this work. This can be funded by the Township Stormwater Fund. Any questions on this project?
No.
No.
Anyone from the public? All right, I'll make a motion to approve the proposal from SWERP Inc. for $48,785 as described.
Sir.
The motion's been moved and seconded to approve the proposal from SWERP Inc. for $48,785 as described. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye. Item N, review and consider Ramage Run Basin bids. I'm gonna kick this over to Tim and he can provide some input on the basins over there.
Absolutely. Recall that we have an obligation under our MS4 permit to do pollution reduction projects. Ravage Run is the next one that we've identified on our hit parade. Those designs were completed, plans were prepared, specs were done, and we advertised that for bidding, opening this morning. We only received one bid. It was for $417,000 from Premier Construction out of Fairless Hills. And so I guess the question for the board tonight is that that bid might be a couple of bucks higher than I expected, but it is not crazy high based upon the pricing that we received for a very similar project over at Longview Lane last summer.
So Longview was about $210,000.
Correct.
For one basin. This is $417 for two, although the scope of each basin on Ramage Run is a little bit smaller.
Correct.
Yeah.
They're smaller, but maybe a bit more intensive with the type of construction.
Right.
Correct. And so I guess the proposal that we have in front of you tonight is I would feel comfortable, awarding this contract to Premier. I would also be comfortable in rejecting this bid, rebidding for the fall for construction start next spring, but at that same time include a renovation of the Pine Road Elementary School detention basin. That is the next one on our list of tasks to complete according to our permit. And so I think both of those opportunities are available to the board for consideration, either proceeding now with the current bid or rejecting this bid, wrapping Ravage Run in with Pine Road School and bidding that later in the fall for a spring construction start.
Would you expect, Tim, we would get better, like, economies of scale, like cost spread out across the projects, or are you expecting more bids as a result?
Good question, Sean. I was surprised we didn't get more bids today. What I have found from making some phone calls is that contractors have their schedules pretty full for the fall. They've already accepted the work, and so they didn't have gaps in schedule. So I think that we will get more bidders by packaging these two together. I think we will get more competitive bidding process. What I don't know is whether inflation will impact costs for the 2026 construction season over what we were seeing in 2025 construction season. So I don't have a definitive answer for you, but I think both options have legitimate outcomes.
What's your impression about Premier Builders and? Sorry, Dennis, please go on.
There's no risk in delaying if we wait it until the spring, in terms of other problems or
MS4.
Yeah, no, we've got 5 years to complete these projects. Chris is concerned that the number of projects out there, given our obligation, we need to start hitting them. But Dennis, to your point, there's no fear that by postponing till the spring, we're going to have any adverse impacts. Those Ravage Run basins have been in place since the 70s. There don't seem to be a lot of problems out there with them, but they're not doing the water quality improvement component that would be required by DEP.
So Tim, go ahead. Sorry.
I personally don't like the idea of one bid, and I think if there was more of a larger project, I think there are some opportunities for economy of scale, and if based on your comments, I would likely be in favor of delaying this until the spring and trying to have additional bids.
How long was this out to bid for?
Yeah, about 4 weeks.
And we've received one quote.
One quote. And we reached out to the contractor that did our Longview Lane Basin.
Yeah.
As well as a couple of contractors who did similar work in other towns adjacent. And it just seemed like, again, I think their dance card was full for the fall.
Right.
So when would we need to have the revised package together to get on their schedule?
Yeah, a lot of contracts or a lot of advertisements go out, late fall, early winter for the construction season. And that would be my suggestion that, either October advertisement, November award, or November advertisement, December award, I think would put us in pretty good shape for the contractors for the spring.
Well, they're having a lot of flooding problems in that area around Pine Road, so it would be advantageous for us to really address that basin too. But that was my one question is, what's the time frame? Say we start this first round, the 2 round drum basins. How long of a project would that be?
Good question. The Ramage Run Basin, part of the cost that we're seeing is there's a lot of soil export as we're expanding the capacity of that basin. And so the proximity of a dump site is one of the things that's going to control costs a fair amount for Ramage. That would be a similar concern for Pine Road. But overall, the projects are probably 4 weeks apiece. They're not long duration projects. There's a couple of components. There's some physical pipe construction, there's the excavation, there's the amended soils that we add, there's the plant material. So there's a number of steps in the process. But I think, it's a 4 to 6 week.
I'm just trying to wrap my head around it that if the board decides to move forward with the one project, then basically we could be moving on with the second project, possibly.
Yeah, and it depends on the size of the contractor that wins the award. So if it's a large contractor, if it's,
It makes it more
if it's Morrison, they'll come in and they'll finish in 3 days.
Right.
If it's a smaller local contractor with less large equipment and less manpower, it's gonna take them long.
And bundling the two might be a little bit more attractive for a company to bid.
Correct.
When you
Tim,
say
is that-
bundle the two, what 2 projects?
Ramage
Ramage
Run, Pine Road Elementary.
Okay, but Ramage Run has 2 basins at the site. That's why I was,
Yeah.
this includes both basins.
2 projects, 3 bases.
Tim, is that all clean fill coming out of there?
We believe so, Joe, right? But before any export will take place, they would need to be a soil test and a clean fill certificate.
I know a great place.
We have places for.
Yes, we do.
If we have a place, that would be helpful.
Well, that's what we need to incorporate into the bid, because we should have a place with that fill.
That would be helpful. That would take a little bit of the unknown out of the contractor's, bid process. And if I can include that in the bid spec, that would be helpful.
Yeah.
Okay.
So with all that being said, do you want to table this and put it out to rebid?
Yeah, I think the action would be to reject the Knight's bid due to one, only receiving one quote. And then we'll rebid later this fall.
Dennis, you're good with that?
That's what my preference is.
Got it.
So,
Yes.
A public comment?
Motion to reject.
So make a motion to reject the bid?
And then add a caveat to authorize rebidding for the project scope, including Ramage Run and Pine Road scope.
Perfect.
Thanks a lot.
Okay.
You want me to make the motion?
Yeah.
It's written in your book.
Stop it on my page.
Motion number 2.
And that font's too small, so. Option 2, alright. It's not in there.
Motion to do what the manager said.
There it is. I'll make a motion to reject the bid for Ramage Run Basin Project and authorize rebidding for a project scope including Ramage Run and Pine Road School.
Second.
The motion's been moved and seconded to reject the bid for Ramage Run Basin Project and authorize rebidding for a project scope including Ramage Run and Pine Road School. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Didn't hear any opposed. Thank you, commissioners.
Item O, review and consider Tomlinson Road Stormwater Project bid authorization. Christian, want to touch on this?
No, I would like Tim to touch on this.
Go ahead, Tim.
I'm happy to do that. So we can picture Tomlinson Road as we're heading west from Philmont and we hit the S bend before you enter the borough. That area has been a real stormwater collection, conveyance, flooding problem for many, many years. The construction of the BERNSTEIN Elementary School has kind of exacerbated that problem and brought it back into full focus, along with a number of recent heavy rainstorms. And so when Steve Warner and I were out looking at that area again, we think we need to at least begin the process of installing some storm sewer in that location, pick the water up off the road, and minimize the amount of water that flows on the paved surface, creating this traffic hazard. The availability of that portion of Philmont Country Club that was originally a golf hole that is now offered for the township dedication gives us a place to outlet that water. The availability of some funding through our stormwater fund now makes this project a reality. I would suggest that we reach out to the borough and encourage them to extend that storm sewer system further up Tomlinson Road toward the elementary school. We give them the opportunity to tie in, but most of that water originates in the borough and it comes down Tomlinson before it hits the township. So I think that would be a worthwhile project to pursue.
And we have residents who live in that area at that S turn who've been complaining since the 80s, I hear, about that runoff.
That is correct, John.
Yeah, Tomlinson Road is not a state road.
It is not, no, it's a township road.
That makes it easier.
So Tim, you said you would reach out to the borough to see if they can.
Dennis, I think that's a great idea. The velocity of that water coming down Tomlinson, it runs almost from Buck Road along the edge of the road. So it's going to be very difficult to capture and convey all of that water if we don't pick it up sooner to make our system more effective. So we got to start someplace. This is a good start, but I think it would be a much more efficient project if the borough extended our system. Yes.
So would you need a commitment from them? Would their commitment or lack of commitment change the plan?
It would not.
Okay.
John, we just, put the inlets in the street, and have that ability to be extended to the future if the borough decides.
Understood.
Any questions from the public?
Will we contact the staff? I mean, not the staff, the residents that would be directly affected by this?
Yeah, we've got kind of an ongoing email chain, Steve Werner and those residents in my office. And that's kind of the impetus for this conversation is that we've, looked at this for many years and I think we finally have the opportunity to do something. So it might take time like the right.
Yeah, might be very helpful as well, since some of them are members of the Bernathen community despite living in Lower North.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
There's a question online.
Hi. Tim, I think I heard you say that the building of the BA school exacerbated the problem. Is there a suggestion there that they did not provide for sufficient stormwater in their building plan?
No, Laura, good question. Their issue that they were having was their erosion.
Sorry, I need to jump in. The sound is not coming through from the meeting room.
Right, I didn't hear the answer.
Leah, that was just Laura Cafe and we can,
Maple Road.
yeah, we can make sure we provide you with our.
Tim, can you repeat what you just said?
Yeah, sure, Laura, I thought we lost you. No, so.
That's EJ.
Oh. Hi.
Yeah, we're losing the sound again.
Yeah, the sound isn't coming through again. Can you hold on? Hey, Leah, can you check on the audio real quick?
Is frozen, which.
Okay, now it's coming through.
We're currently dealing with a fraction of our bandwidth.
Jacker?
It seems to be working now if you want to talk, but I'll jump in if it breaks off again.
Okay.
Thanks, EJ.
Hey, Laura. So what I was saying was that during construction of the school, their erosion control measures were being overwhelmed. And so we got a lot of muddy water running in Tomlinson and down to our residents and down to our portion of the roadway. Now that they're getting some stabilization completed, that problem is much less apparent. And their stormwater system is functioning as it was intended. But that doesn't mean that the water from Buck Road down Tomlinson doesn't continue to flow. So it is really a during construction issue that we saw at the elementary school, more than a long-term issue.
Thanks, Tim. I appreciate that.
And Tim, don't you think once the school's built and they have, I'm sure they're putting plantings, it should help a little bit?
Yeah, if you've been by recently, they, the demolition of the old school is complete. They're getting all of their athletic fields reconstructed. And that whole area, you can picture where the new school is, and there's a driveway that goes up to the left. That was all just really all torn up for the longest time. And that's finally getting stabilized and completed and cleaned up. So it's been a slow process, but they're getting there.
I mean, it'll help a little bit, but it won't solve, as you would say, the sins of the past and
Correct.
and the water, traveling
Exactly.
downstream.
All right, nothing else from the public? Make a motion authorize bidding the Tomlinson Road Stormwater Project.
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded to authorize bidding the Tomlinson Road Stormwater Project and also the recommendation for engineer Tim Woodrow to reach out to Brunel. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 I don't hear any opposed. Thank you, commissioners.
Item P, review and consider PennDOT winter maintenance services agreement. Manager Hoffman, you want to talk about our deal with PennDOT and expiring and?
Yes. The township plows and salts all the state roads under agreement with PennDOT. That agreement expired at the end of last winter. So they have in front of us a new 5-year agreement, which also has provisions for 5 additional 1-year extensions. The agreement increases by 2% annually. And that follows, I think there was like a 16 or 17% increase in the middle of the prior contract term to bring it more in line with the actual expenses that the municipalities were incurring. Steve Warner has checked in with his colleagues to see if anybody has provided any feedback to PennDOT about this or has any concerns. I don't know that we love that it only grows at 2% annually, but there has not been any kind of progress in changing that number. Checked in with Solicitor Rice about language regarding determination and that requiring kind of mutual consent to that. But then there's other language about how it can be discontinued. So overall, it's an agreement that provides about $73,000 a year in year 1 for the township to provide this service. Ultimately, we're recommending that the board authorize me to sign it by resolution because I cannot fathom the first snowstorm that the township would not be responsible for state roads. What it would look like when our trucks cross over Huntington Pike between Avondale and Justa Farm and raise their plow. So it's one where in most years, I think with where the winters are now, just having the contract in place, we actually probably turn around a little bit of a surplus on the value. In a super heavy winter season, it might start to get out of balance, but there is a severe winter clause that would add funds. So just given the history, we've had a version of this agreement in place for 2 decades. So we're recommending that we proceed so that we can prepare for this winter.
You say generally this covers the costs associated to these roads.
Yes.
Taking them over though.
Yes, because it's based off of the lane mileage in both directions that you have to go. There's some variability from year to year on the cost of salt. But some years it's wholly a function of how much snow we get. And it seems like it's an all or nothing scenario in the way that winters play out now. But then generally, yes, this would cover us for a standard winter.
Any other questions or comments from the board?
No.
In public? I'd like to make a motion to approve resolution 25-21, authorizing the township manager to sign the new PennDOT winter maintenance services agreement.
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded to approve resolution 25-21, authorizing the township manager to sign the new PennDOT winter maintenance services agreement. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I don't hear any opposed. Thank you, commissioners.
Next item, Public Works. Steve is on vacation this week. The floodgates were installed. I think they were used at least once.
Yeah.
Anything else we should talk about?
I would expect the other one Steve would have reported on is that our 2025 paving program starts tomorrow. So I think you've probably seen some signs around town advising of upcoming milling.
Do we know if any of the alternate projects are being done?
I'd have to go back specifically, but you authorized the base bid and I believe one of the alternates. So it's what the board authorized is the project scope that's being done.
Do we have any sense for when the next phase of the Philmont Philmont road work is going to pick up work?
I believe they wish to start this fall, but I'll need Steve to reach out to the construction coordinator about what that is a forever project.
Yeah.
Because they have to get from where they stopped near the roundabout kind of project area. They're going to skip over that, wait to do those components once that's opened. But then they need to go from the opposite side of Pine all the way to Philadelphia.
Yeah.
So that's the one that has always been kind of scariest because that's back into a heavily residential area. So we have, based off of when they did the area between Huntington Pike and Red Lion, that was work that PennDOT required them to do overnight and was a nightmare for the residents in that immediate area. Fielded lots of complaints. So we have advocated, it's kind of, there's no winning answer. You either mess up traffic for the entire day or you make it impossible to exist in your home overnight. So we have advocated for daytime work, thinking protect people's comfort in their home. But we're not the permitting agency for that, so we will see what PennDOT ultimately says.
Do we have any way? I would have concern that if they start in the fall, given how long it took the first stretch to do and some of the delays that came through, think about the condition of the road going into the winter. I would imagine, do they work through the winter or would they have to stop?
No, they'll work through winter, yeah, you know.
Even with heavy snows?
Well,
with
if there's a heavy snow, Sean, then they'll stop for a day or two, but, you know, they're not gonna stop, you know. Because we're on a paved surface. Yeah, they're on paving, they'll work there before they're working in open fields.
I'm just wondering if given this, use the way the state of Philmont before they just finished up the paving was, I mean, the worst I've ever seen it growing up here. And to think about that going into the winter, I mean, it's better than it was, but it's not good. But I'm just thinking about it getting to that state with snow and ice. Is there any way that we can advocate for them to delay until spring?
I think you would need to go to your state reps who are responsible for that road, as this is not a township permit road. So you can advocate all that you want, whether or not they care that you've advocated, I do not know. Understand?
Okay.
Next item are liaison HVAA, their fall soccer season, which starts in the summer, started yesterday. And their fall basketball season, which starts in the summer, starts in September. And they pulled or will be pulling a permit for the Red Lion Gym again to use that for this fall. And dates for Fall Fest are to come. So I have for tonight.
Thank you, Commissioner Pace. Next, the chair recognizes Commissioner Blanton, Chair of the Ordinance Committee. Sean.
Thank you, President Kurtz. I have 3 items on my agenda for tonight. The first is to relook at the smoke shop zoning ordinance. So last month we discussed this. Solicitor Rice has been successfully advertised the smoke shop zoning ordinance as prescribed by law. This ordinance provides enhanced definitions for this particular use. It also permits future new uses to be located in the B-0I zoning district. Does anyone have any questions about this particular ordinance?
No.
Are there any questions from the public? If not, I'd like to make a motion to approve ordinance number 786 as described.
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded to approve ordinance number 785. You said 785?
86.
86 as described. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 I don't hear any opposed. Thank you, commissioners. Motion's passed.
Thank you very much. Next item on my agenda is to review the zoning hearing board agenda and decisions rendered in their last meeting. First, I'll go through the applications for their August agenda. There are 3. The first is application number 25-19. This is the application of Michael Peretta and Elaine Sabula of 1693 Silver Birch Road. They seek a variance to reduce the required setback from 4 feet to 0 feet to permit the replacement and expansion of a deck. The second application is application number 25-20. This is the application of Dean and Morgan Newell of 684 KURITZ Drive. They seek a variance to increase their lot coverage to 35.9%, where 25% is allowed, to allow construction of a 600 square foot pool with decking. And finally, application number 25-21. This is the application of Solomon Merbelstein of 2600 Huntington Pike, who seeks a variance to allow 2 residential apartments on the first floor. Any questions about the applications for the August zoning hearing board?
What on I have one question. On application 2519 for 1693, they want to put their deck right up against the other property line. Is that what am I reading that right? So there would be 0 setback. They would be right up onto the property line.
Correct.
Jill, isn't that Woodmont? Is that Woodmont? That's
is
why,
Woodmont.
Dennis, I think, because it's so
They only
tight.
have a 4.
They only have tight quarters. Go ahead, Jill. So Dennis.
Yes, the requirement's only 4 foot, so to ask for 0, I mean, you only have 4 foot to begin with. So they want to be right on the property line. I believe the property line that they're asking for is homeowners open space, but they're still asking for it to be right on the property line.
So it's not another house, it's open space.
I believe there's a little patch of open space between their house and the next house.
There would still be a way to get back there for like emergency services.
That's what this little patch is. It's like a house, I think, to get back to the, they have like alleyways or something in the back. So I think there's this little patch to get people back there.
Gotcha.
Thank you, Jill.
Any other questions about applications for the August agenda?
2521, 2600 Huntington Pike sounds familiar. Have we seen that one before?
Yeah. Yes, they, across the street, Ricardo's that strip. He was here over a year ago, didn't get the building permits, lost the relief, and now has to get the relief asked for again.
Is that where Sunwine was?
Yep, behind it.
So is Sunwine gone or?
Yes, no, they're still there.
They're still
And
there.
he wants to put 2 apartments in that back space.
In the
How,
back.
I'm not sure, but.
Jill, wasn't there a bunch of fire violations on that building too, or something else going on? Am I thinking of something
No,
else?
that was a guy in the basement.
No, this is Merbelstein's, the one on the right-hand
Oh,
side.
yeah, no, we did have all of those issues and they did fix them.
So
We went
that's
to the
all
basement,
correct.
found the gas line and I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, they fixed all of that.
All right.
Any other questions from the board? All right, let me talk about the 2 decisions rendered in the July meeting. The first was for application number 25-17. This was the application of Tadas Brusakis of 1062 Sorrel Lane. He sought a variance to permit encroaching into the front yard setback for unpermitted completed construction. This variance was denied. And the second application was application number 25-18. This was the application of Chen Cheng of 2415 Dale Road. They sought variances to permit 2 separate accessory structures 8 feet from the property line, where 20 feet was required. One shed was 210 square feet. The second was 252 square feet. These variances were also denied. That concludes my report on the zoning hearing board summary. Are there any questions from the public on any of this? Please.
Marky George Dale Road on your second application.
Yes.
That was declined. it was declined because the resident was a no-show.
That, I would say, that wasn't the reason why it was declined, but the applicant did not appear. And so the applicant was not there to present their evidence and testimony, and the board rendered a decision.
Okay.
Which was the.
So my question to the board, where does that whole procedure, where does that stand? Is it a dead issue? Can he just merely apply again for?
My understanding, and I take this with a grain of salt, we can get clarity on this. My understanding is that he's able to appeal, but he can only appeal the decision based off the evidence that was presented, which was none. So he would be very unlikely to win an appeal of that decision. I don't believe that he can simply apply again, but Jill, would you be able to speak to that?
If he changed it, so what he asked for, he did not get. He cannot ask for that again. But if he decides to maybe make it lesser, so it was 250, and he's like, what if I make it 240? If he changes it in any way, he can then ask for relief again. Or if the appeal is done, if he doesn't do anything, we will cite him for having violations that are not compliant with the zoning. So either he's going to go to the judge about not doing anything, or he can modify his application and go back to the zoning hearing board, which you would get notification.
That was going to be my next question. There is some teeth in the law and
yeah. The application as submitted, it was denied and cannot be reopened.
Good. Thanks.
Yep. Wonderful. That concludes my report on the zoning hearing board summary. Last item on my agenda is my liaison reports. I just spoke to the zoning hearing board, also the liaison to the building code board of appeals, which did not meet, so I have nothing to report. And with that, I conclude my agenda for tonight.
Thank you, Commissioner Blanton. Next chair recognizes Commissioner Canale, Chair of the Public Safety Committee. Jeff.
Thank you, Denise. First item on my agenda for this evening is the Pierce Saber pumper financing options. Staff solicited quotes from several area banks for a municipal lease to purchase agreement for the Pierce Saber pumper truck in the quoted amount of $939,467.88. The following proposals were received for a 7-year loan. TD Bank, interest rate 4.25, Santander's Bank, interest rate 4.48, and Univest Bank at 4.89. Upon review of the terms of the loan schedule, staff is requesting the board to authorize to move forward with securing a loan under the parameters described in this memo. So at this time, is there any questions from the board on this?
No.
We put no money down this particular truck, right?
Correct. Any questions from the
What did
public?
you just say?
I just confirmed that we did not put money down on this particular.
We haven't put money down on it.
It was there or not.
And have we ordered it?
Yes.
You ordered it back in January of 2024.
Right, it's supposed to come relatively soon.
Hopefully in November, mid-November, I got word today, it's put it back a few weeks.
Okay.
So now December. Okay.
Mark gets his Christmas present.
Was there an option to put any money down up front to lower the interest rate or no?
It would not have changed the interest rate. So we presented a full financing structure for both trucks at the same time. We put money down on the tower because it was a $2.1 million truck. We financed the other $1 million. In this instance, because this truck is $925, and with the way that you accumulate funds in the capital reserve for fire, it didn't make sense to part with anything. And the loan value is still less than the overall loan that you took out for the tower.
Any questions from the public on this matter? Nope. I'd like to make a motion to enter into an agreement for the financing of the Pierce Saber pumper truck with TD Bank.
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded to enter into an agreement for the financing of the Pierce Saber pumper truck with TD Bank at a rate of 4.25%. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you, commissioners.
Chief, you're up. Chief Smith.
My full report has been submitted, but just some highlights of everything. We did have
1,767 calls per service, so kind of right on line with what we've been having the last few months. Some crime updates, some of the biggest ones from this past month and leading into this month is the theft of mail has continued. So that's both from the exterior mailbox at the post office. Also, we had some the other night from mailboxes out in front of homes, is also package theft. So these things lead to check washing. It's a regional problem. We do have some suspects developed along with some help from Delaware County Police Agency. So like I've reminded in the past, it's safest to drop your mail in the mailbox in the post office. Set up online payments of things, either generally a little bit safer than putting your checks in the public mailboxes or any of the mailboxes out on the street. So just keep that in mind. We did have 3 graffiti incidents in town in the last month. Some great work by the officers. They did catch the actors in one of the incidents. They were able to tie one of the second incidents back to those same juveniles. So the third incident, we do not know. We do not believe it was them, just based off the location and the type of graffiti. But the officers did some great work and we're dealing with those offenders currently. Another couple theft of vehicles and theft from vehicles. Again, just as I've always reported, every one of them has been unlocked, keys left in the vehicle. So there's not too much we can do with those. But just again, continue to remind people, lock your doors, hide your valuables, be a good neighbor. You hear something, you see something, please call us so we can come out and try and address it. Also, we did have some good firearms arrests last month, some good work by our patrol officers, from some self-initiated traffic stops. The detectives also made an arrest from a 2022 burglary, excuse me. So again, some great work by our detective division. If you haven't seen it posted already online, we are hiring. I did make 2 officers earlier tonight to both Mr. DeGeorge and Mr. McDade to see if they were willing. So spread the word. We're trying a whole bunch of different recruitment things. We're going to have the county asset, which is a street sign out there with one of our police cars. Some things we haven't tried before. The commissioner and I have been working on the dance routine. I think we're almost set for the video to come out for that. So
yes, other than you called me commissioner.
Or,
It's a matter of your badge. Otherwise, yes, I will be dancing in it.
So the test in September, hope to keep the numbers high. It has been a regional trend where police departments are not getting live applicants. We have done pretty well doing our own tests over the years. So again, we're trying a bunch of different things. Hopefully get it. We do have one opening. Some public service announcements. I was contacted by some of the commissioners about some e-bike safety, scooters, bicycles. So we have put that on our social media. We did unfortunately have an incident tonight that there was 2 children on a scooter, electronic scooter, that actually ran into the side of a vehicle. So just remind everybody, wear your helmet, obey the laws. A lot of these things can be deterred if the children are doing the proper things that may be riding. So like I said, we do post it on our social media. We only have so much contact and so many people that are watching that, but we're going to try some different things and see what we can do with our school resource officers. Hopefully get some information out to the schools that they can push out to the parents that these incidents are occurring, not only here but elsewhere, and see what we can do to help try and educate some people on what the laws are and how they should react and act on these things when they're in the public streets.
Thank you.
Yeah, just to follow up on that. I mean, I'm noticing, in my neighborhood and some other neighborhoods that it's not necessarily the scooters, but it's these more beefed up like electric bikes that go 30 plus 25 plus miles an hour. And some of the kids that are on them are pretty young, and they're they speed around cars, and I think it really presents a danger in our township.
Yeah, and so the problem is, anytime, which I'll be honest, I think we've all probably seen it. If you are riding any kind of wheeled device on any road, you are a vehicle. You have to obey all the traffic laws. So that's some of the stuff we can certainly push out and make sure at least the parents are being educated on that. So hopefully they can stop some of the children, because that's a lot of what we do see. And we've had this over the years. There's been go-karts and mini bikes and a little razor, mini motorcycles. Like, we have this over the years. Our officers do address it as we get them. But I think we would all say we are probably all seeing them a lot more. And Hopefully just our continued education of the community on what the laws are and what they should be doing. Will kind of help us.
So what's the helmet law for that?
So I believe it's 12 years old. You're supposed to wear at least a helmet, but I mean, if you're riding any of these electric bicycles that are going way faster than you can pedal it, the laws are a little bit different if you're older. It's the same thing with motorcycles. Like there's
12 though, and under.
yeah, but 12 and under, I believe is I can verify that, but I believe it's 12 and under. You're required to wear a helmet when you ride a bicycle. Again,
Does that apply to the scooters and e-bikes also?
that I'm not 100% sure. I'll confirm on that. But if you're under 12, yes, it would, because it's any kind of bicycle or any device like that. However, again, like I said, if it's some of the older people I've seen, actually adults driving them extremely recklessly, not necessarily in town. In the town I live in, I've seen it. I think I explained the story to the manager about that as well. Just completely disobeying stop signs and going right through. So.
Chief Commissioner Mueller.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm just kind of, commiserating, on the situation, because I think these devices are much more affordable and prevalent than what they were. I mean, you can buy them on Amazon, and we're just seeing a lot more of them in the neighborhood. So I would certainly, I think putting stuff in the newsletter and those other places are good to do, but maybe we need to, I don't want to stop kids from having fun, and I'm not suggesting citations, but maybe, there are some warnings that in some of the neighborhoods where this is going on, because it's usually the same people that I see. So
They're not illegal though, right?
No, well, to ride them in the street, a lot of them are, yes. So like
they go over
the mini, even the or on the sidewalk too. So a lot of those, even the Razor motorcycles that, I mean, they're not as prevalent anymore, but something similar to that, you're not allowed to ride them in the street. You're not allowed to ride them on the sidewalks. So yeah, they are technically, yes.
So the e-scooters, what's the definition?
So they all have different definition based on the horsepower they have, the size of the engine, if they're gas powered versus not. There's so many different variances, but we generally, I can tell you over the years from even mine, when we would see children driving the street, we tell them, you can't drive that in the street. Well, okay, we'll drive on the sidewalk. You can't drive on the sidewalk. You're supposed to be driving those things on your private property, generally speaking. Now, like I said, bicycles and scooters, there's a whole influx, and we have a chart that we put on our social media, which kind of defines the differences between what you have to do on a scooter and an e-bike versus a pedal bike and all that. So it's just kind of broken down all the different ways. So each one, like I said, it just depends on the size and where you're riding it to. So
do you have a recommendation for ages? Because it came out in the news today that Haverford Township is actually passing a law.
The chief and I had some communication about all this.
Yeah, and there's a lot of legislature that's coming out with the recent one that happened, that the young girl that died from the crash on the scooter as well. So, and we'll certainly continue to push that out as soon as we get that too.
Even at the open house,
but again, almost, you pedal a bike, you use your foot to push a scooter. I think that's best. My kids have the little mini dirt bikes, but they don't ride it unless we're somewhere that you have the space to do that and can do it safely. So yeah, my recommendation is you wear a helmet.
Yes.
You obey the traffic laws. And a lot of them are loud too. Some of the ones that can be gas powered are loud. So we do points about that as well. So, but yeah, that would be my recommendation. But the biggest thing is wear your helmet, because that's the thing that's going to protect you. So.
Everything we discussed, and then some, and thank you, because even in your report, the LMPD is talking to the kids and is giving them warnings. And sure, it's difficult for us. Parents have to also, hopefully, they wear a helmet, wear knee pads, and
that's where it starts.
And you shouldn't be riding this because it's not allowable until a certain age, blah, blah, blah. Setting the rules down, we can do. Thank you for doing the best you can, hearing all of us and what we see. And
like I said, we'll get back
children,
days, so hopefully, like I said, with our school resource officers, we can have them specifically with Detective Samuels, who's in Pine Road, where probably the greatest impact would be. We can have her do some talks to the school and hopefully work that.
Sounds good. Any other questions for the chief? Nope. Thank you, Chief. Chief Schoenmaker.
Good evening, everyone. I'll be very brief tonight. My written report is submitted to both managers of both communities. It's a joint report. You'll see I attended a number of different meetings. You've heard about a number of the things that we were working on that were driven by those meetings, so I won't go over those. One of the other things that we were dealing with the solicitor's office, we were trying to wrap up the rebate ordinance, and we did some work with that. Sent it off to the fire commissioner of the state as per protocol for review. I'm sure we'll hear nothing back, but we do have a receipt that they were sent that information. I wanted to report that the stroke truck is now live. We had a little bit of a hiccup with the dispatch. We're trying to figure out what happened with it, but it is in place and procedures in place for that call. So we're happy to have that available to our residents. For some response statistics, for the month of July, the Huntington Valley Station 19, our benchmark was met 33% of the time. It's a little bit lower than what we've been doing, but we're also into vacation season, so it makes it a little bit more challenging, not only for the volunteers, but also our career staff. We have to accommodate the vacations, backfill, see if people will work. It gets a little challenging. At the Bernathen Station, our benchmark was made 80% of the time, with an average time of 6 minutes and 19 seconds for a response to on scene, with a 3.53 or 3.53 suppression personnel on the apparatus. That number is actually 100% of the time because we chase that apparatus with an ambulance that has qualified fire equipment. Just to highlight a couple of calls, on July 8th, 2025, we effected numerous water rescues throughout the township with the heavy rains and a short duration. On July 29th, we were down to 145 Blake Avenue in Rockledge to assist them on a house fire. We served as a rapid intervention team, and they were in service for a little over an hour. And then again on July 31st, 2025, we effected numerous water rescues once again with the heavy rains that came in. Just a tip for those in the room and those that are watching, if the water looks high, please don't drive through it. We don't want to meet you in those circumstances. It's getting worse. I can tell you in this particular last storm, we had water up to roof lines of vehicles. I've never seen it that high around here. And then it takes a little bit of time from, we were up in the County Line Road area for that. About 45 minutes later, we know we're going to have it down on Philmont, and then we start to have the problems down there. The gates were deployed. I don't know how well they worked because we now are doing a more manageable emergency operation. We open up emergency operations center where we have the key players, the emergency management coordinators in there, myself as fire. We have the EMS folks. We can get a police representative available. We get them in there, and we actually run the incidents from within that off of the county dispatches that we see on the screen. Everybody's busy, so we try to limit radio transmissions. We go into our own channel. We self-dispatch. It's been working out really well. It's an educational process because we're not used to doing that here, but it has been happening in the last, I think 3 big events that we had, and it's worked out pretty good. Immediately after we get done that incident, we debrief our personnel that are out in the field, and then the following day or two, we do a debrief of the emergency management team to try to identify issues that we've encountered and look for ways to improve our operation. But real quickly on the response for fire calls, the Bernathen Fire Company, emergency medical calls in Bernathen were 8, in Lower Moreland were 125. Other calls were 67 for a total of 200 calls for the month for the ambulance. And when year to date, we're about 1,304 at the time of this report. Fire calls in Bernathen were 7 for Lower Moreland, 24 for the Bernathen Fire Company to come in. Fire calls other, which are outside Bucks County or other mutual aid partners around, is 5 for a total of 37, and they have a total of 275 calls they responded to. And then in Huntington Valley Fire Company, the calls in Lower Moreland were 42. They went into Bernathen 7 times. Other fire calls, again, to our mutual aid partners, 6 for a total of 55 calls for the month, and they are sitting at 312 calls for the year. And that concludes my report.
Any questions for the chief?
No.
No, anything from the public? Go ahead, Chuck.
Chief, just because the sale of the fire truck for the Bernathen Fire.
Yes, I should have mentioned that.
Yeah, please.
We have a engine that's actually going to be the first one we put up for sale. The Huntington Valley engine is part of a trade-in on the new truck that you're going to hear about, or that we talked about. We
We ran into a tank issue, a water tank issue on it, and it had to be repaired, so it just came back, it's all back together. So that will go up for sale, but it won't be released until the new engine comes in, so we'll get an agreement that clauses that on it, because we want to make sure we have adequate fire suppression vehicles.
Okay.
They're getting older, they're breaking down, so we got to kind of keep things available to us.
Yeah, no, I understand, I got you.
But yeah, that is part of the fleet reduction, that's
Right,
number one piece going,
okay.
okay?
All right, fire marshal's report was submitted. You guys had the opportunity to review that. I don't have any questions on that. That takes me to my liaison reports. First up is library. The 2025 summer learning program was a huge success. 351 people were registered to take part, and 515,071 minutes were read so far. 2,321 activities were completed, earning participants raffle tickets. We also had 91 new library cards issued. This Saturday, August 16th, from noon to 4 is the For the Books indoor mini golf fundraiser at the library. Stop by to play 10 indoor golf holes decorated by our sponsors, the local police department and fire company. You can visit the website at hvlibrary.org for more information. It's a great event and they have a ton of time and effort put into it. I hope to see a lot of people out there for that. MUELLER liaison and civil service, there was a meeting on that. As Chief Smith spoke to, we're going to be advertising for the test. That's all on that. Turn it back to you, Dick.
Thank you so much, Joe. Before we close, just with regard to these water rescues, and I'll ask Solicitor Rice, Manager Hoffman, and maybe Chief Smith and you, Chief Showmaker. The last few reports were saying that people are like deliberately going around these barricades. So I don't know if there's anything. I'm assuming we don't have anything in place with regard to, because they're putting their own life at risk, putting everyone else's lives at risk, and disobeying the barricades. So I don't know if there's any way we can find them in some way.
Yeah.
Vehicles.
That go around the drop barricades.
Yeah, the ones that go around the barricades, it's in the vehicle code, it's enhanced penalties when they do it.
So they are getting
It takes
fined.
into account some of the rescue
Okay,
efforts that
good.
have to happen.
I know Lieutenant
Glad to hear that.
actively engaged in the last story.
I'm glad to hear that, because, it's putting all of you at risk.
Exactly.
And that's maybe if the word gets out there that, we always say, don't go around the barricades, but,
So hopefully these gates will help a little bit better.
Yeah.
They're a little more visible and they're bigger.
okay, thank you. And Leah put something really good in the newsletter about the barricade, so, thank you, Leah. Next, the chair recognizes Commissioner Housing, Chair of the Public Property Committee.
My two liaison positions I'll do first, because neither of them met. Moreland Township Authority met last month and I reported on it. And the Historical Architect Review Board did not meet this month. They met last month and I reported on it. As for sewer, it's functioning in a relatively positive way. We have an average flow at Chapel Hill of about 123,000. And the Beth Ayres has an average flow of about 1 million gallons. So we are also in the process of continuing to video the lines to see where they go and where there might be infiltration, which means that water that shouldn't be going in there will be going in. Into the sewer system should only be going sewer water, not rainwater. So that's why we continue to check on that, and that could adversely affect our bills from Philadelphia. Okay, and that completes my report.
Steve does have a program to line the pipes though, correct?
Yeah.
X amount of feet per year we budget.
For simplicity, yes.
Gotcha.
No camera, come check them out.
Cameras on the way.
Gotcha.
In August.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Thank you, Commissioner Housing. This concludes our agenda items for this evening. Now we'll open it up for public participation on non-agenda item. Come on up and address the board. Please state your name and address for the record. Well,
Andrew DeMarco, I live at 67 Clearview Ave.
Sure, stand over here, buddy.
There was an accident, 2 kids hit the side of a car. I don't believe it was the driver's fault. I have the video if you want to see it. I brought my iPad, but that intersection is so bad, and there's a house in the corner that has a huge bush that's overgrown, which I don't blame him, because you have so much light pollution at night from cars just turning because he's on the corner. But it makes 2 blind spots. There's 15 to 20 kids in the neighborhood every day. There's no sidewalks for them to drive on. There's 3 streets. There's Bucksmont, that's the road where the bad bus accident was a few months ago. And then in Brookdale, Donna, and Bradford, they all need to be 4-way stop signs. On Bucksmont, it's a hill one way, Clearview's a hill. I mean, the 2 kids, they blatantly went through the stop sign, but I think they're in 5th grade, you know, and my son's in going in the 3rd. I tell him, you have to stop at that stop sign. If see you not stop at that stop sign, we got a problem. And I'm trying to teach him and his friends, but that's a learning curve. This poor man is an older gentleman, and I could see he was visibly shaking. So what can be done?
well, the chief is taking notes right now, and he can.
Can we do a traffic study to take a look at those intersections for
I
South?
can have the also.
My wife called last year several times, and they did a traffic study, and they put up some cheesy little 25-mile speed limit sign right by the pond there. And it was lighted for about 6 months, and I guess the batteries died, and now it's not lighted anymore. But there needs to be stop signs for the cars, because there's nothing coming off County on the Bucksmont. Even if you come on the Glendale, people come on the Glendale, which is a wider street off of County Line, and they make that turn around my corner. And then anytime County Line gets shut down, like in the floods we've had recently, it was like everyone's cutting through and cutting up them streets, and then they get stuck by the next flood down there at Donna or whatever. But the stop signs would be huge, you know, for the kids.
So there's stop signs that one go one direction, and the other traffic going this way has no stop signs.
There are stop signs on Clearview going both ways. There's nothing on Bucksmont. You know, and that's like the main feeder from County Line Road.
What's the process of putting stop signs on?
Well, traffic study is the first thing.
Yeah.
You can do that and see if it warrants it. I can tell you a lot of times with the intersections, it's not warranted in both directions. It's mainly the main roads that would not have them, and the side roads would have them, generally speaking. But we have some that are 4-way, we have some that aren't. Like just over the years, they've been that way. But that's the first step, would be a traffic study. So I can have the traffic safety officer. If I can just get your name, if you don't mind, just
I'll
have
give
you
you
talk to them tomorrow.
Yeah.
Or sir, I'll come in soon.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, we can.
Also, Mr. DeMarco, we'll have Jill and Ted or code enforcement take a look at those. You're saying that maybe the vegetation is, you know, impeding some site.
Yeah, but
We could take a look.
The traffic safety officer will do that as well.
Great.
That'll be fun.
Thank you, Chief.
To make sure the sight lines are there, clear enough for people to see in all directions.
Yeah, but the stop signs are bigger. The bushes are the guy's private property. You know what I mean? It kind of like secludes his property. But the stop sign is the huge thing. You know, because people are coming 25, 30 over. People go over 25 all the time. That's a different story. But they're not, and they're not stopping. So it's kind of blind both ways. They don't have to know, but they.
And the cars might assume, like I have a T intersection going this way, there's stop signs, this T has no stop sign. These cars going this way, assume that car coming to a T has to stop, and they don't, and they just go around a bend, and then they're almost accidents. So I could see how they get confused.
Yeah. So.
Thank you so much for coming in.
So you need the video?
He might.
We have it.
You have it?
Yeah, I don't know if they got it from you. I know we do have a video.
From the old house in the corner, right?
I believe most likely, yeah. I don't know what perspective. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll get your name. We can also get that.
Anyone else? Any other public comment? Online, on Zoom? If not, that concludes our non-agenda items. Just to let everyone know, we have an executive session with the solicitor after this meeting to review a personnel matter. So I will, if there's no more questions from our board or the public, I'm going to make a motion to adjourn.
Second.